You down with LCS? You down with LCS? You down with LCS? Who's down with LCS? You down with LCS? You down with LCS? You down with LCS? Who down with LCS?
Good morning. Happy Saturday. It's a little impromptu stream. I didn't see anybody going live this morning. I know Fanboy Prime is usually live on Saturdays. Hopefully, let me know too. I'm sounding if the mic sounds okay. I'm in as you can see in the background, a new setup, new room. So just wanted to kind of kick the tires a little bit before we start this new Saturday show in the new year. So just wanted to make sure we are doing okay before we officially kick it off in the new year. So back to Saturdays. The Sunday the 29th will be the final Breakfast with Brian, and then January 4th we'll be kicking off this Saturday morning comics, kind of a hangout stream. We're gonna have people, anybody wants to join and come talk comics. That's kind of going to be the format going forward. Like I said, in the new year, and we're going to be on at 10 a.m. So we're going to alternate with Cliff. Cliff is on at 10 as well. So we're going to every other Saturday. I'll take one Saturday and the following Saturday Cliff, and kind of alternate back and forth. So it's kind of what we're doing. But I wanted to kind of, like I said, kick the tires. And actually, I hadn't had a stream set up before Christmas, so I wanted to set up a stream and come on and wish everybody a Merry Christmas, kind of check in with everybody. I know there's been a lot of Christmas shows and Christmas covers and things going on. So, but yeah, let's check in with the chat. I know we've got a couple people with us this morning. Phil is here. Yeah, that's kind of the idea. That's what I kind of thought when I was coming back to Saturdays. I think it's time to, Breakfast with Brian has had a great run, and so I think it was time to kind of switch things up and do something a little bit different. So, and it kind of reminded me of, the Saturday morning, right? You used to get the bowl of cereal and go sit in front of the TV for a couple hours watching shows. So that's kind of what the thought behind it. Rod is here. Good morning, Rod. Jerry's here. Merry Christmas, Jerry. Hope you and the family have a great holiday. Las Cruces is here. Good morning. Cap is here. Good morning, Cap. I know Cap did it was actually probably a couple weeks now ago. He did a big claim sale. He had picked up some books, and the wife was looking for him to get rid of them. So Mike is here. Good morning, Mike. Yeah, I didn't see anybody live this morning. Fanboy Prime is usually live Saturday mornings, but I didn't see him live, so I figured I'd jump on. I know Cliff is live at 10. Not sure if Phil is alive at alive. I'm sure Phil's alive. I'm not sure if Phil is live at 11. So audio's good. All right, excellent. Let's see. Rad, Aaron, good morning. Appreciate you being here. Robin is here. Yeah, back to Saturdays. Well, at least one more Sunday. Tony's here. Good morning, Tony. Merry Christmas. Phil is here. There's Phil. Oh, no. Yeah, I know. I know the Northeast is getting slammed with cold weather, snow. I know it's, only like in the teens there. And I know even further north, upstate is in the single digits. So I know the Northeast, it was actually cold here this morning. Woke up this morning here in South Carolina, and it was 33, 34 degrees. So definitely cold. So Phil, let us know if you are live today at 11. I'm assuming maybe you're not. Yeah, Robin was up late playing Fortnite. Joe is here. Good morning, Joe. Joe's had some great Instagram. He always has some funny Instagram posts, but he had one the other day where he takes some video clips from the interwebs and put a couple together. it's always funny to see what Joe's posting up on Instagram. There's Cat Fan. Good morning. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Let's see. Yeah. I actually have a couple. Well, I'll show those in a little bit. Let me get through the chat. We've got some. I didn't pull many of my holiday, but actually there was a couple good Spider-Man holiday covers this week for Ultimate Spider-Man. So, Troy, good morning. Scotty, good morning. Scott was hanging out with Fable, one collection down last night. Fun chat over there. There's a lot of great streams going on last night. Anachronic Comics, Mon Comics, Comic Collector Geek, a lot of Biggie Shack, DJ Lynx. Man, it was a busy Friday night. I tried to pop around and support some channels, say hello. A lot of good stuff going on. So let's see. Captain Crunch, one of my favorites, Captain Crunch, but then anything with marshmallows, Lucky Charms, that kind of stuff. That was always a favorite back in the day. Madam's here. Good morning, Madam. Madam was where did I see Madam? Madam was hanging out with Legion yesterday, the Friday Legion stream. Let's see. She's making a Q? No, that must be coffee. That's the best for the rest of us, yes. Phil, are you live today at 11? Let us know so people can come hang out if you are. I know, like I said, I know Cliff is live at 10. I'm not sure who his guest is. But yeah, so couple holiday covers, right? Ultimate Spider-Man number 12 from this past week. Pretty good. Spider-Man in red and green. I like that. All the villains in the Christmas ornaments there. Pretty good. And then haven't even bagged and boarded it yet, but Santa Spidey. And Ultimate Spider-Man continues to be a great read. This issue is really just kind of a Christmas party at the Parkers. So Mary Jane and Peter are hosting everybody, extended family. J. Jonah Jameson is there, Uncle Ben, some of MJ's family, and it just kind of reminds you of the stress of the family, the holidays with the family. So it was certainly relatable, and there's a little twist at the end. So if you're any type of Spider-Man fan, you definitely got to jump on Ultimate Spider-Man. Definitely a good read. I picked up the 1 in 25 as well. So $15 price tag, but my LCS gives me actually not $15 isn't bad for a 1 in 25. Usually they go for 25. But then he also gives me a discount. I think he takes $3 off anything over $10 for me because I have a pull box. So I think I paid $12 for this. I've been just collecting the 1 in 25s because they're relatively inexpensive and they've been some fun covers. You got a little Doc Ock action figure, Spider Buggy on the bottom there. So I've been picking those up. That's certainly been my favorite book of the year for sure. Ultimate Spider-Man. Kingdom of Nerds, Bruce, good morning. Appreciate you being here. All right, Phil is live at 11. All right, so you got Cliff at 10, Phil at 11. I'm not sure. John's Comics with Kids has been going live at 11:30. Then you have, I think there's a special only slabs today. I think Rob and Chris are showing off. Or no, there's a guest today. I think it's Birch, Justin Birch, I think. G-Man is here. Good morning. Appreciate you being here. And I know G-Man's been doing like a Saturday afternoon stream. Not sure if that's still usually around 1 p.m. Eastern. So I'm not sure if that's going on. But G-Man, let us know. But yeah, if anybody wants to come hang with me, let me know. I'll drop the link again in the chat if anybody wants to come hang out with me this morning. It's kind of going to be the new format in the new year. We're going to have some people on. All right, John is live. John is live at 11:30. John's Comics with Kids. So definitely go check him out too. Yeah, I think it's pretty much cold everywhere. Like I said, I know the Northeast was getting hit with it. We're in the heat, 30, it was 34 degrees here. So I'm sure the temps are cold all over. We'll take a quick weather check. That's 39 here now. Let's see. New York is currently 29. Albany, New York is 22. Even California is cold. West Coast is 48. Huntington Beach, right south of LA, is 48. Orlando is only 49. So yeah, it's cold. Niagara Falls is 17 degrees. Charlotte, 37. But I have Hawaii in here because my wife and I are going to Hawaii in a couple weeks. It's currently 61 in Hawaii where we're going. So, so there's your weather update for the day. Yeah, Rock, jump on, come hang. All right, yeah. So G-Man is live at noon. I thought it was 1 for some reason, but he's live at noon. So I mean, you basically after this stream, you've got your whole day filled. You've got Cliff, you've got Phil, you've got John, you got G-Man, you've got Only Slabs, lots of content today. 25, yeah, it's cold. Oh, Madam in Arizona. Okay. 45. That's cold for Arizona. 78. Very nice. But what was I going to say? Spider-Man. We were talking Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man. And there was some news that came out this past week about Spider-Man. So they are rebooting Spider-Man. All right, let's put that on hold because we got a guest, Mr. Evil Mike in the house. Good morning, Mike.
Hello.
How's the weather in Colorado?
Actually, pretty warm here. Right now, it's like in the 30s or something like that, but I want to say in like an hour or something like that, it'll be in the 50s and 60s. It's supposed to be pretty warm here all week.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why, but I'm not complaining.
You're getting the warm weather while everybody else is getting cold weather.
Yeah, we got the first snow even before Canada, which is funny. And then now we're 50s and
yeah,
I mean, it's
early, right? It was like early November that you had snow, right?
We got like 2 or 3 feet, something like that, right off the bat.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah, so we're gonna be hanging out on Saturdays in the new year. So back to Saturday. It felt kind of weird doing the 9:45 start on a Sunday. So I'm glad to be coming back to 10 a.m. on Saturdays.
For me, it is 7 o'clock in the morning. So
yeah, I know.
I think Breakfast with Brian was like 8 for me. So I mean, either or, I think it's still a good time. I do like a little earlier,
Get it? Yeah, I like the early stream too to kind of get it. For me, it feels like because the weekend I'm always, weekends are always running around doing errands or stuff around the house, that kind of thing. So it's nice to have the stream early and kind of have the rest of the day to go, do what you need to do. So
get you woke in the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right. So I was just saying. So it looks like they're rebooting new number 1 for Amazing Spider-Man in April.
I did see this with the brand new, brand new #1 label, brand new volume 1, and it'll be at a jumping on point. So the way it read to me was, I don't know if it's gonna be a full-on reboot. Like, I don't think we're going back to, like, high school. No, I think they're continuing it, but just new writer, new.
Yeah, it looks, and that's what I'm reading through the article. It looks like they are, and it's Joe Kelly, so he's currently doing the writing. He kind of took over for Zeb Wells on the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man that's going on now. So I guess once that concludes, then they're going to kind of reboot, and they actually already have a cover. So it looks like John Romita Jr. is going to be doing some artwork, and then Pepe Larraz. I'm not sure I'm familiar with his work.
I think I am. Somebody was pulling it up, and I'm not off a name, but I am off of his art, I think. But the way that was another thing, everybody was skeptical about the JJ, and being on the art again. I think he's only scripted for like so many issues, and then because I think he's still finishing a contract or whatever, and that's why he's on this one to that one, and I think he's only on for a certain number of issues, and then they're moving it to Pepe.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I'm sure he had, when he signed on, he may have had a contract. But it was interesting because this is the issue #1 cover, wraparound cover. But it's interesting because this looks like very similar to volume 5. Why am I drawing a blank on who? It was before the Zeb Wells run was. I'm
Who
drawing a
was that?
blank.
Spencer?
Spencer, yes, Nick Spencer. So,
Yeah.
but if you look, that #1 cover looks very similar to the Nick Spencer run, because that was a wraparound cover with a bunch of the other characters too. So, I mean, the
Mhm.
art is different. This, I think, I think this was a Gleason cover.
Yeah, I think so.
But so when I saw the new cover, I was like, wait a minute, that looks very similar to the volume. I guess it's volume 5. So this is going to be volume 7, I guess, of Amazing Spider-Man now.
They just copy and paste it. But I mean, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Maybe it's like, I wouldn't say an homage, but maybe they're trying to use that gimmick of, hey, this sold well back then. Let's try using, because I do like, like getting, especially if we're going to do a #1 and it starts a new story, I do like getting like a setup of the characters that might be within that arc. Anime does that. When you watch anime in the intro, every anime intro, like, you're technically not supposed to watch the intros, and a lot of people don't know this, but there's tons of spoilers within the intros because they literally show you like all the bad guys that are going to show up, like,
Oh,
even if
really?
you don't. Yeah, even if you don't know who they are, they'll show you like little glimpses of them too. But it just basically showcasts like the characters that you're gonna come across. I don't know why they do that, yeah, but they're very spoily, like, if you actually pay attention to anime intros.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, it looks like that because they mentioned in the article that they're going to kind of get back to basics and kind of pick up with Peter's life, and he's looking for a job because he just, in the current story, he was working for Oscorp, but Norman basically sold all of the assets and basically sold off the company, and so they mentioned that in here, that he's kind of gets back to looking for work, and he's got a new girlfriend and that kind of stuff. So yeah, so we'll
Mhm.
see. I mean, I'm hopeful that the story's written well. Joe Kelly's done some stuff, before on Spider-Man. He wrote Nonstop Spider-Man. He wrote Deadpool and Spider-Man. So he definitely has a history with him. And so far the 2 issues that he's done for the current run have been, he writes the character well. So
He knows the character kind of thing.
yeah.
That's a lot of people's issue. That was like the biggest complaint was, it's really confusing for new fans and old fans, how to describe what volume you're reading,
Right.
hey, I just picked up #3 of Spider-Man. Yeah, what volume,
Yeah, it's definitely confusing because when I got back into collecting, I didn't realize that they had rebooted, and I was confused. It took me a little while. I mean, they
I
still
mean,
keep the legacy number on it, but
yeah.
so
Then you get this.
that's a
Then you
new.
get the pseudo official number, and like, hey, this is issue number 2, volume. I mean, let's ask a serious question to these comic fans. Like, what would you like to see on the cover? A long, drawn out number of the real traditional number it's supposed to be, like 1,239, or would you like to see like a number 1 or number 2 on issue number 1,239? Like, I don't know why there's this off-putting like they think if new comic fans came along and saw like this big robust number on an issue, they'd be scared about it. I understand that you're scared because you want to get invested in the character and you want to start at the beginning. I mean, if that's the case, why are you starting at issue 1100? No, I mean, you're talking about like they expect the knowledge of not having like the 80 years. Like, oh, at 13 years old, I was just introduced to Superman, so I'm just assuming there's no other Superman stories out there. Like.
I guess I don't like the constant reboots because I think the issue number 1 is really just the idea of trying to sell more books, and they're probably going to have a dozen variant covers when they do that. Certainly they do that often with Spider-Man. Some of the bigger characters, Spider-Man, Batman. There's just so many variants. But I mean, I guess the best solution is to have the current number of the volume and then the legacy number, because I'm sure, right? So this is a legacy 957. So they're 43 issues away from issue 1,000 of Spider-Man. And I'm sure there's going to be a big, when they hit 1,000 issues, there's going to be a big, there'll be 20 variants, and they'll celebrate that, I'm sure.
I mean, you talk about confusing. That was like, I think I suffered maybe 10 years or something like that where I didn't understand what variants were. Like, you talk about like what's more confusing for the average fan is like all these different covers for the same issue with no explanation on what they are until you get a little further into the hobby. Oh, there's different options on the same issue. Like there's not really an explanation, especially if you're not talking to like the comic book people that work at the stores or something like that. To me, that's a little more confusing. The fact that like I don't even know how I found out about variants. It might have been somebody showing an issue that I knew the cover of, and I was like, what? There's more than. But to me, that's like, and I'm not against variants, or I get that there's some kind of plan, and because Dynamite. I mean, you look at Dynamite, and how can they produce that many variants and still stay profitable? But like,
Oh yeah.
they have to be. You would assume they've been doing it forever. But at the same time, like that to me is a little more like confusing for the average fan versus like you're stepping into like issue 1,000 or like, this is volume 1 or like volume 7 of like, I think that's the more confusing thing, like the ratios, the variants, if you're the new fan coming in and like look at the newsstand, especially how some comic book shops can stagger stuff or position their,
Right.
Books. Some comic book shops make it seem like each issue is like a different book and stuff. I imagine like there's probably a bunch of stories out there. Their first time buys. Yeah, I went in to go get Ant-Man. I found all 4 issues and came home, and then they're all the same issue.
Yeah, no, it definitely is confusing. My shop that I buy from now, that I have my pull list set up, he buys he's a heavy A cover buyer, so he buys a lot of A covers. He'll buy some of the variants. He doesn't buy them all, but he'll buy a handful of some of the variants. So it's always, when you look at the shelf for new comic books every week, it's the A cover that you're seeing, and then he'll stack some of the variants behind it. But he's always,
See, I like that.
So it's easy to pick up the A cover, because I'd much rather have the A cover
I
And
did like
then, yeah,
I'd at least like to see it and know that it's the A cover
right.
and then go over the option, because that even nowadays that could be, because there's some sites out there when you do previews and stuff, they'll show you like the variants first versus the A cover and stuff. Yeah, and I'm gonna put this out there. You better throw them Cowboys out there. They've been screaming for them Cowboys.
Yeah, I see. Well, I want to say hello to a couple other people. Christina joined us. Good morning, Christina. She's already dropping some links for everybody. So
Hey,
good morning.
Christina.
Drew is here. Clean Cheap Shots. Good
What's
morning.
up, Drew?
Let's see. Let me make sure. Yeah, I see. I saw all the Cowboys. So I guess I don't. They're not dressed in any holiday attire. Well, actually, they're not dressed in much. But okay, here we go. And it's funny. I have the clip labeled. It's labeled Cat Fan.
Is it? Yeah.
That's the clip.
I got.
Now the question is, did you see any of the comic book community members in that video? There's a couple hidden members in there. Trev
Right.
and a few
Right.
others are in there, so you gotta
Bill's
watch out.
treehouse. He was back in the trees. He had to look really close.
Oh, did
Yeah, I
Matt
saw.
step away? We're gonna have to play it again.
Oh, no, you only get the one playthrough.
Yeah,
Cat
that's
fan
it.
eats
You
that
get
up.
one shot. So I'll have to watch the replay.
I like catering to both sides. It's nice.
Yeah, we're equal opportunity. We don't, older. Yeah, I know. I know a lot of people have been kind of going back to that, buying less new books and kind of focusing on some of the older books.
Nothing wrong
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to spend,
to a degree.
if you have a certain amount of money to spend, it's probably better to focus on the older books because all right, Madam saw it because a lot of times the newer books, in a couple months you can find them for less than cover price, so you can pick them
Yeah,
up.
because like the biggest factor with new books, and I hate saying this, but you're taking a huge chance and a huge risk. It's not, I mean, we do get to see some of the cover art, and sometimes we do get to see some of the inside, but for the most part, you're taking a chance on the art, the story, and you might have like a conundrum of what it might be about, but that's still, I mean, I don't know how many synopsises I've read, and then I actually read the book, and it's nothing like what the synopsis said, or it's something similar, but not quite where. No, but I mean, so you are taking a big risk and multiple fact. I mean, art, story, company. I mean, there's some with those hidden agendas within the book, but I'd say that's the biggest scare. And there's nothing wrong with going back to that safe stuff. Oh, I love this story as a kid. I know I love that. I don't feel like I'm wasting my money because I do know I love that kind of thing. I get all that, especially nowadays.
Yeah, we mentioned inexpensive books, and our taco tour guide showed up.
Got books. Yeah, I mean, technically, that's the name of the game, right? You wait. If you are patient and wait, some of the stuff you'll find either way cheaper or dirt cheap or free, or, I mean,
Yeah,
of course.
there's a shop, and I had posted it up on Instagram that I went to last week. It's about an hour away from me. I've been to it a few times, but they have an extensive back issue, like it's like 150,000 issues. It's huge, the amount of books that they have, and they price them. So if it's a non-key issue, if it's just kind of a run filler, it's priced whatever the cover price was. So if it was
All
when
right.
it was published, if it was
Dollar
60
book,
cents,
$2 book.
yeah, dollar book, or if and so they have it separated. They have a section that are the keys that are could be $10, $20, whatever the rate is for the key issue, but just the run fillers are cover price. So I picked up a bunch of Marvel Team Up, some Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man. I picked up, I think, 39 books for like $42.50 or something. So,
It's not bad at all.
and they were all, run fillers that I needed for those
Yeah,
3
those
runs. So,
runs. Yeah.
and they have, all of the titles. I mean, there's the amount of books. I can't believe the amount of books. It's a size of like a small supermarket, the store, because they have a ton of toys and action figures and statues. They have all kinds of stuff, but and they
Little
have
warehouse.
yeah, it's kind of like a I don't know. It must have been like an old like grocery store or something, because it's a big location. The amount of floor space they have, so it's definitely a good shop to go check out. Yeah, a bunch of people had said they wish they had a shop like that.
Especially getting a place where you can go to. I mean, an hour is not that bad, but them having like an extensive collection of a whole bunch of runs. It's a big thing because most comic shops, I mean, depending on the size, they can only hold so much, back
Right.
stock and stuff. I mean, that's like, a lot of people are like, "Oh, buy gold and buy silver." Have you been to comic book shops lately? Most offer, modern to bronze, because we're talking about 40 years worth of comics.
Right. They
Um,
just don't have the space. Yeah.
yeah, I had one place back in Houston, that was Bedrock, and Bedrock is a big store, but they were like the only store. And you're talking about if you go look up in Houston how many comic book shops, you're talking about there's like 60 shops. Nah, well, like one store had like gold and silver.
Yeah, well, the problem is I think a lot of the stores don't have, because of the cost of rent, they can't have a big shop where they can have it. I mean, like I said, this store is just probably the largest shop I've ever been in, the amount of comics that they have on the floor. So, but that was the same way in the Northeast, New York, Long Island. There's a ton of shops, but they're all tiny and they don't really have the room for, back issues.
Mhm. But
They have
most
all
of
the modern stuff and some action figures, toys, that kind of stuff that they have out on the floor, but they just don't
mo-
have the room for the for the old books.
most I think is doing what a lot of our shops probably here in the chat, but they're like half a game store, half of a comic book shop, and that's how like that they're incorporating the rent is because they're making good money on the board game side or the trading card game side versus the comic side. And I think that's why you'll find shops that are half. Honestly, I like that because I'm into board games and all. I mean, so the
Right,
more
right.
nerdy stuff you throw in one store is kind of a no, but I go back to, like, for instance, I got Mile High over here, and Mile High is like a mile-long store,
Oh yeah,
and, like, I often think, like, how do they stay in business? I mean, they do get a good like, every time I've been there, there's at least, like, I wanna say, like, 30, 40 people, but, like, well, maybe it's their online presence 'cause I just have to wonder how are they affording their rent 'cause I mean, you could see it off the highway, it's one of the biggest buildings here in Denver, it's massive.
yeah. I mean, every time I've seen any video of their shop, it's crazy the amount of books. But the eh, I always hear people saying that they're overpriced, and it's almost
Oh,
like
they are.
they don't want to sell books. Like they'd rather just keep them.
Okay, so like it's really weird because they're really good on certain things and certain like okay, so they're backbended because the size of the shop is so big. They do have everything, and I'm talking about like I've gone looking for like my Stephen King runs and stuff like that are hard to find in shops. So like Mile High always has them, but like yes, you're paying like I want to say depending on what it is like 2 or 3% higher than what everybody else has, but what they're cheap on is like comic supplies. It's like everything else around comics is where they're cheap. Like I go get all my dividers, all my by boxes there. Long
Okay,
boxes
like the
are four.
supplies. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the long boxes are $4. Like short boxes are $2. Like
yeah.
dividers, they're 20 cents a piece, and I'm talking about the plastic nice,
Right. Yeah,
bags
that's
and
cheap.
boards. For like 100 bags and boards, it's like I want to say for boards it's like $3 and bags it's 5. Where everywhere else it's like I want to say $12 for bags, $10 for bags, something like that.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I mean,
that's a
even on, Amazon, if you try to order bags and boards, it's you can get them a little bit less expensive than, say, some comic shops, but they're still more than, if
uh,
you buy, like, in bulk, and so that Mile High must buy so much volume in bulk that they get it at
when you
such a
go
discounted price.
and you'll probably never see this in anybody's like Mile High videos, but when you go to Mile High, they do have like it's a pretty big section of the store that's just comic supplies. It's actually right as you walk in, but it's to the left, and there's nothing really over there but that stuff. And you're probably not going to see anybody like, hey, here's their comic supply section. Um, okay, but they do have like not only is it pretty big, but it's not just like BCW, and no, they offer like I think at Bags and Board, just bags, I think you get like 12 different options from Mylar to,
Oh,
you know,
really?
the
Okay.
the acid including bag. They have all, and it's crazy. Like, and the Mylar is not that expensive either. Like, but it's the amount of like options that you have. Like, it's not just one type of divider that you can get. I think they have like 6 or 7 different. They have comic guards. They have like self-sealing slabs. They have all kind of stuff. Zap,
Yeah,
zap.
and you don't usually when somebody shows like a tour of a Mile High, obviously they're focused on the comics, raw slab books. They're not showing any of that, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody mention that. That's interesting. That's
Okay, I'll say the worst thing about Mile High, and yes, the prices are known that they're high and everything. Okay, the worst thing is their modern comic selection. It's literally like a bookshelf and a half, and it's like they're able to like I want to showcase like 20 books. It's not even like hey, you're talking about like how many books come out like from just
oh yeah,
Marvel and DC. Like no, that they're like I don't know how they do the ordering, but they're very like if you don't have a list with them, they're very selective on actually the comics they get in the store. They're in all the comic book shops, and I'm talking about I have like like a flea market comic book shop over here that's teeny tiny. They have the worst modern comic book selection. Like especially like like if you're expecting to find something, no, heck no. You better have ordered it through them, or because you're taking a big chance trying to pick it up there. But that's probably the worst thing is their modern. It's like this little bitty. It's like a bookshelf and a half that they have, and it looks so pathetic when you finally find it in the store, and you're like, "This is the new comics. Like the whole store
yeah.
is a comic."
You would think they would have a large section because I know like
It's like a little.
Midtown Comics has
It's like a
their
whole
wall
wall.
of new comics is like
Yeah,
extensive.
two. One that's I want to say one that's right around the corner, and it's like the second biggest shop here in Colorado, but it's called Alcys, and they have like this long wall. It's like you walk the whole length of the shop, and it's like, and they have it segregated to like Marvel, DC, like Image, like, where you can go buy publishers, and it's real nice. And then you go Mile High, and it's like a bookshelf and a half. Like,
Oh wow! I guess they're just more focused on the back issues. So
mhm. I
because a
want to
lot of
say
my
that and all the.
most more of the shops down here in the South, because they have kind of a bigger storefront, they have more space. What they'll do is they'll have like the last 2 or 3 weeks of books, new comic book day books out on the shelf, and then they also have a section of basically the books that have come out in the last year, new comic book day books in alphabetical order out on the shelf, which was not the case in like the Northeast. The shop that I used to go to in the on Long Island, it would only keep like the last 2 or 3 weeks out on the shelf, and then they would rotate them and put them in their back bin. So, you basically can pick up books if they still have them in, for cover price for like the last 8, 10 months that are still basically out on the shelf.
1 second, bro.
Let's see. Check in with the chat. We got a few other people joined us. Marcus, good morning. Appreciate you being here. God is great. Good morning. Well, not morning for you. Morning for us. Goss jumped in. Good morning. Appreciate everybody being here. Yeah, kind of a pop-up stream this morning. I'll Chaku Mike, good morning. Who else did I miss? Phil joined us. Good morning, Phil. I think I got everybody. If I didn't get you, I apologize. Bruce asked too, did you Kingdom of Nerds about the Superman, the trailer? What
I
did
was
you
just about to go there, and that's actually what I got interrupted on because my brother was showing new stuff from the trailer, and I was like, "No, that's fan made stuff." Yeah, I love it. Like, I was a person. I'm very like hyped for. I'm a big DC fan to begin with. I will admit that Superman's not one of my like top faves, but I love Superman. But like, no, I'm hyped because new direction, James Gunn. I already like him as a director. I mean, there's so many things. I actually like the look of a lot of this, like Corn Sweat as Superman, like the way they did his hair. All right, so talking about the trailer. No, this I've watched this trailer like 4 or 5 times, and I've already seen like multiple conversations of some negativity. I've seen a lot of positivity. I've seen some like also some kind of epic things that I don't even know people are privy to. Have you seen the articles of the people that have seen this trailer that said after they saw this trailer, they were filled with hope from the
Yeah.
damn trailer, you know?
I mean, I've seen mostly positive stuff. People talking about it in some articles. I've seen a couple of video titles just saying like, "Oh, it's the negative stuff," but that also could be for people trying to do that to bait people to watch their content. But
Mhm.
I thought it was done really well. I mean, my one concern, but my one concern is the amount of characters that we have in it. Like, so in the trailer, we saw Lantern, we saw Hawk Girl, we saw a couple different villains. So but understanding who James Gunn and doing Guardians of the Galaxy, when you think of Guardians of the Galaxy, how many characters you actually have the Guardians team themselves, but then all of the supporting characters that they brought into those movies, there were a lot of characters to manage. So I think he has a track record of being able to handle multiple characters. So
I could
that
tell you,
gives me hope that we're not going to have, because that's been some of the concerns with some of the movies. Not so much like
you're around like one of the biggest concerns, but I would say around the biggest concern is James Gunn is known for doing team formatted things like Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad, recently with Creature Commandos. Um, we know he has like no problem of how many characters and story related to those characters inside those stories. So that I don't think that's the issue. The issue is it's going to be like a team based thing where okay, and I can because he did shed some light on some of this. So for a lot of people, this is a movie that's going to start out with everything already going on. Like they already said that it's in this world, Superman's been established. Like Lex and Superman, they know each other, but they've never actually gone head to head. This will be the first time that Lex steps forth and tries his dastardly stuff. The other things like they've shown is the other heroes are kind of already established. It more looks like Justice League International with Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl, and but it looks like all that's already established. Like we know, like the world knows about these heroes and certain things. But he also told us that they're not cameo characters that are from other films. It's going to be self-contained to this movie. He said that Mr. Terrific has like a huge part in the main scheme of the story. Like they're not just going to be characters that we see for like one scene and then that's
right,
it. Like and
like a
it's
cameo. Yeah.
And he specifically said that it's going to be a self-contained movie. They're not doing the whole Thanos thing where it's this movie's leading into another movie that's leading into another movie. He said there will be ties and nods to the other films, but as far as everything story-wise, it's going to be self-contained to this one kind of thing. I want to say, if you want to hear my thoughts on that, I don't think we might see like Brainiac at the end. I want to say yeah, it's engineering Lex. It's this is Lex' first attempt, and they showed a couple scenes, and then like in the trailer with the gun, I want to assume that's his first attempt with the kryptonite bullet. And Aaron is exactly right. That's the other thing is Ultraman. So it looks like Lex is going to be doing his like cloning of Superman thing, where somehow he gets some of Superman's blood. I'm assuming with the kryptonite gun, um, and he gets some of his blood and he clones Superman because we are that scene where he's fighting somebody in the football scene. Everybody's like, "Who is that?" That's Ultraman. It's that
Oh,
that,
okay.
and we have seen like before we got the trailer, we did see like an Ultraman. The way they have him is just like he's fully suited up. You can't even see like any skin or anything. He's just in a full suit. But I want to assume that's my thoughts. Is it looks like we're gonna see not one attack, not two attack, but like this multi-campaign attack from Lex because they show the scenes where like people are against Superman.
Right.
I believe that's Lex doing, like all like the kaiju thing. He I mean, I believe that's part of Lex's doing. Like, I believe that's going to be a lot of it'll be like villains that he's using, but it'll be him as the mastermind, I think.
Gotcha. All right, that makes sense. Well, I think the fact that they're not doing, so they're kind of jumping into the story, right? We're not. I don't expect that we're going to see, like you said, Superman's already established, so we're not going to see any origin, right? We don't, and I think most people don't need to see Superman's origin again. We know his backstory, right?
Mhm.
It's similar to what they did with Tom Holland with Spider-Man. They didn't redo his origin, right?
Yeah,
Because
it's kind of at this point it's not needed, like,
right,
and it's kind of one of those things. If they do another reboot, that'll be the major off put to fans, because everybody knows that part of the story. Let's get
right,
straight to the action.
right. Let's
Um,
kind of jump in because there's been you know, if you don't know the origin of those, bigger superheroes at this point, then for the casual fan, then you don't want to um add that to try to make the casual fan happy. You really need to kind of focus on the larger base of fans. So yeah, so I like, that we're not getting a retelling of origin. And for me, because I'm a dog guy. I've got dogs. I've always had animals. The crypto having crypto in it, that scene was for me. That hooked me, because um,
I
it's
love
a
that because that means we're getting like a more comic book esque Superman story, and
right,
I love that. Okay, a lot of people don't they might have missed it or overlooked it or not exactly understood what's being shown, right? So Superman is known right around the world. People know this dude's got powers and he's pretty much a god. Um, that first scene in the trailer, there's so much importance to it because it's showing that regular person that knows Superman that, hey, this Superman can be hurt.
right,
It's not this godlike Goku guy that can know that this Superman is going to show those more human sides, and James Gunn was saying something like you can't know Superman without knowing Clark, and you can't know Clark without knowing Superman. It's not like Batman where he believes it is a mask. Superman and Clark are the same, and he's trying to establish that yes, he does have all these powers, but at the same time he's vulnerable on a human level.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, right, the first scene we see him a bloodied face. His face is beaten up, and that's not usually what you see with Superman, right? I mean, how often have we seen that where he's down and he's calling for help? I mean,
Yeah.
you don't ever see that,
No,
or
I thought that
rarely
was
see that.
I thought that was a fantastic opening scene to this teaser, and there's some things that a lot of people don't know. Like James Gunn is a huge comic book fan, but I'll tell you what he isn't a fan of is Superman. He is not a Superman fan. He is doing this movie because he knew it's the first step in this DC move that they had to do. So he knew he had to do a Superman movie. How? Why is he doing it? Like, how did he? No, he Crypto is the answer to that. His problem with Superman is because he's so godly in this night, he can't really connect to him. And that's kind of my
Right,
reason why
right.
I'm not so much a Superman fan. So how do you connect to this person that's unconnectable? And it's through some of his family and friends. And Crypto was that answer. After he started exploring the storytelling about Crypto, he found Superman a lot more relatable, and that's why we have Crypto in this movie. This was like his anchor into like, yes, I can make this a good story kind of thing. And there's some interesting stuff about Crypto that he's revealed that, yes, in the preview, we see a good boy version of Crypto, but he says there's going to be a lot of the movie where he's not exactly such a good boy kind of thing. He's still,
I'm
he's
sure,
still um, a puppy with superpowers kind of.
yeah. And yeah, I've heard that. I heard a few people mention. I didn't catch it. They said that I guess in the Daily not Daily Planet scene, there was Supergirl was on the TV in the background.
I did not see that. I did see this morning that James Gunn was a little upset with fans because they didn't catch one of the other characters that they revealed in the trailer. Me, myself, I did not see this character, but the engineer can be seen in the same scene that we see little, Lex. She's in the background. Like you kind of have to zoom in to see her, but it's very clever in him trying to hide like more cameos of characters that are within the movie.
Yeah, no, already in the first trailer, right? There's a bunch of little Easter eggs, little nuggets that that he kind of put in there. So it's definitely going to be interesting. And now that comes out, is it summer of
July
this?
11th, I think, 7
Okay,
months. It's not that far away. Um, I want to say there's some other things that people missed. We got the huge Luther Corp, and I think for a lot of people that's new. They're not used to, I mean,
right.
just a casual fan, seeing a very successful. Now, if you watch the animated, maybe, because he had Luther Corp during all that, but like, most TV shows, he might have made it to that level, but they usually don't go that far. So that was kind of new. But another thing is the other industries that are there that are kind of not so prevalent, like Stag Industries. That was featured a bunch during, and Stag Industries is a very heavy, like Wayne Enterprise, like, they were showcasing that there's some big industries, in that world already established. Now, we didn't get like a Wayne industry moniker or anything like that, but still, it could be there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, the fact that there seems like there's going to be so much packed into this movie that you may get some other references that will lead to the larger DCU as we go, right? I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some Easter eggs that'll be in there that'll tie into some of the other things that that he has planned. So
I'm interested. I love the trailer. I mean, I love the music, the nod to John Williams, original score. Even though that was like a highly criticized thing, one of my favorite comments was who's doing the soundtrack? Bill and Ted. Like, I mean, I'm for that. Like, if Bill and Ted were doing, um, because I thought the soundtrack for the teaser hit the slowed down, metal version of the original Superman score from John Williams.
oh
I thought
yeah,
it was
yeah.
not only that, but that there is a lot from this teaser trailer that nods to those old, Christopher Reeves, Superman movies. It's not just that this is going to be comic book accurate, but there's nods to, predecessors that came before, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that was one of the things I noticed right away was the music. That hooked me. Because I mean, I'm old enough to have gone to the theater to see the Christopher Reeve Superman. So, as a kid. So,
What's up, Archie?
um, so that hit it for me, the music. And then, like I said, as a dog person to see Crypto in there and the fact that, Superman's calling for his dog to come help him, that was like that hooked me right away. And then
It was,
the
go ahead.
bloody, like I said, the bloody Superman too. I
Yeah.
looked it up, I went and looked it up. I'm like, when have we seen Superman bleed? Like, because I don't recall it. I don't read a lot of Superman books, but I've obviously seen all of the movies, from the Christopher Reeve movies and all of the other Superman movies. And, other than Batman Superman, where,
You just hit it. You're right there. It's one of the
he
greatest nods. Batman versus Superman. Do you bleed?
right.
In the
He
first
hit
scene, we
him, he
see
hit
it,
him
and
with,
he's bleeding.
all the kryptonite, and he was down at that point, right? But I don't ever remember seeing him like bloodied face like that. He looked like, look, I don't know who gave him that beating in that trailer, but that's going to be interesting to find out for sure.
I like that. And I think that's like if I had to guess, I want to say that's the Ultraman scene because I think a lot of people have been putting stuff in the chat, and I think they're right about a lot of it. Like the kaiju scene that's setting up like Superman's strengths and some of the casual thing that he fights. I think this is going to be modeled after a lot of the Silver Age. Crypto is a big sign of that. During the Silver Age, it was like every issue where he fought like a kaiju-esque monster, whether it was like a transformed Jimmy Olsen or Lois Lane, or it was an actual, but that was like every issue back then. So it's kind of like an homage to that age is that kind. So I think that's going to be like an early scene is that kaiju, battle
Yeah,
that they
I think
show.
Rad or Aaron mentioned that might have been a way to establish Superman's
His
powers, right?
powers
Right.
and maybe his like belief in the people because it might be it's kind of like that scene where we saw with the kid where the kid was calling for Superman.
Right.
We'll get to see both versions, a world that does love Superman, that does call for his help when they feel needed, or we're going to see that other version of the world where they can be twisted and seen Lex's side of things where they can jump on board. And I've heard that too, which we haven't talked about that. I love Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. I'm already a big fan of that actor. Everything that he's portrayed, like Beast and X-Men, you know. But no, him is Lex, and there's a cool story behind that too, because he went for the casting of Superman, and during the casting, James Gunn said he wasn't getting Superman vibes from him. He was getting Lex vibes, and eventually Corn Sweat beat him during the audition, and they were there
Okay.
together. Um, and the interview happened right after that with Gunn, Holt, and they asked him if he was salty about not getting the Superman thing, and he said yes, he was extremely mad. And then he had mentioned that he had went for the Batman audition against Robert Pattinson and lost that as
Oh
well.
wow. Okay.
So after hearing this, James Gunn literally turned to him and said, "You're my Lex Luthor. We're shaving your head," and that's how that. So we're getting some real world salt against this
Right. Yeah.
version of coin. It's not just an actor playing. No, there is some real world like.
Yeah, a
No,
little animosity there,
you
right?
took
Yeah.
my job, Corn Sweat.
That's funny. That's good. That's good. That'll I'm sure will help motivate his character a little bit, right?
There's been some fun stories and stuff. I don't know. How talk?
Taku, we
We
got
got.
two otakus. We got
Do we got
Otaku
two
Mike
Otaku?
and Otaku Torga.
That's what I want. I hope we do the power suit thing. I mean, we just saw that in the Superman and Lois like TV series, but I hope we get that version of Lex. I love that, the power suit Lex. I love okay, and I think we are because James Gunn, he is a Lex fan. He believes he's one of the most, like more important and iconic, villains within the DC universe. And he was saying the way he sees like Lex Luthor is basically Ozymandias, but like Ozymandias if he went more the tech side kind of thing. So he's like the smartest man alive, but like he focuses more on the tech. And he was explaining that he sees it more as like he's so good with technology. It's like it's almost at a level of sorcery, like magic kind of thing. So
Okay.
I want to believe after he said that, that's we're gonna see Lex trying these fantastical things. Let me use Superman's blood to clone him. Let me do the power suit. Let me use, like a kryptonite ray to, I love those versions of Lex, and I like other versions of Lex too, especially when, he can beat him with just words, that kind. No, but I do like the fantastical,
Right,
the
right.
fantasy version of Lex too.
The crazy stories and
Maniacal.
technology, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like it's a movie that's going to have to be watched. I mean, I think for real, for big time Superman fans, probably a movie that's going to have to be watched a few times because it seems like there's so much packed into this movie.
I don't know if he's doing it for this one, but I can tell you something he's done for every single one of his movies since he did Guardians of the Galaxy. And each one of them, he's had an Easter egg challenge that he offers real world cash to people that
Oh,
can
really?
figure it out. The Guardians of the Galaxy one is a $10,000 win. But to this day, no one has still,
No one's got it.
with
Yeah.
that. They've got a lot of the Easter eggs, but I think there's still like either one or two big ones. And I forget what it relates to. It relates to like the soundtrack and the planets or something like that. But there's still a huge Easter egg that nobody's figured out to this day. But every single movie that he's done, like Suicide Squad, like he's done a big cash prize for these like really, really hidden Easter eggs. The Suicide Squad thing, I think, lasted like a month, and somebody figured that one out.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I want to assume that he does that for like, the eagle-eyed fan kind of thing. So his movies kind of just promote, more than one watch kind of thing for various reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, just like I said, the fact of how much stuff we got in the trailer already, just the first trailer that, it seems like you're gonna to really kind of get the full effect of the movie or to see all the little hidden things that you're gonna have to watch it,
This is
at
just
least, a few times.
this is just a teaser trailer. It's not even a full trailer, and we got
Yeah,
like a
that's true.
two
That's
two
true.
minute 2 minute and a half teaser, which a teaser is usually less than 90 seconds. That's the whole reason they call it a teaser. Okay, now no one has said this, and I'll tell you the worst thing about the trailer, and it's something my brother picked up right off the bat when we watched it together. There's no dialogue. There's no, I'm kind of like leading on how the plot will go, but there's no plot design within this teaser trailer. It's all like, bits and pieces that are taken throughout the movie. So I mean, at this moment, those are my two complaints: is like there's no dialogue and like to go off
Mm,
of, and we don't really have a mainline plot. But okay, and with the plot regard, I kind of like that. I mean, to me, that's where you get it. That's where you start crossing the line of getting like super spoily, is when you can watch the trailer and you know exactly how the whole plot's going to go down because of the trailer. I don't want that. But to
right.
see
Yeah,
some,
you don't want to give too much away, and I think that's smart, right? That there's enough there was enough different action scenes and different character reveals in that teaser that it's
mhm.
gotten people, I think it's gotten people excited for it. So,
Oh, okay,
um,
you're talking about the anticipation of the weight of this trailer and the teaser that we got. No, this was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it could have been so much less. It could have been just a bunch of panels, that featured words, that didn't
right.
show anything. I mean, I love teasers and trailers, so I have a vast experience with them. This could have gone a lot of different ways. So getting this, and the way he put it, to me, this was a Christmas present. Like getting this right before Christmas and the amount he showed us, like I'm super hyped. And you're talking about, there's been talk, oh, it's a long time away, 7 months in my life. No, that goes like that. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's gonna go quick. But yeah.
HeroesCon was like yesterday, and we're
Right.
already like a year away from that. I mean,
Yep. Yeah.
no, I mean, so 7 months away is it's gonna come quick, and not only that, but like to warn people, there's going to be a big gap, because we're going to get this comic book movie, we're going to get like two more comic book movies, and then we're not getting a comic book movie for a while, like 2026, 2027. Like I think some of the later ones are like 4 or 5 years out. Like they've really pushed back stuff, and I want
Yeah,
to say that
I think we're gonna get, there'll be some shows, some streaming shows in
mhm,
between, but
I
yeah, I
think
don't think,
I think that's what we're going
they're
to get a
slowing
lot of.
down on the big movies for sure. Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to get a lot of his shows because I mean, specifically from Marvel and DC, I want to say at least the ones that I could think of, there's like 5 on each side, big ones that are coming, and soon. I mean, we're about to get the What If season from Marvel. I think that happens either sometime this week or it already dropped. I can't remember. Um, I need to check that when that drops. I thought it was supposed to be like December 18th or something like that. The last season of What If.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I think the
I think
next thing we're getting from TV streaming wise, Marvel is Daredevil. I think, right? I think that's in like the spring. I think in
that's like
March that
yeah, that's
drops.
like spring.
Yeah.
I was thinking we were getting like What If, like Christmas time or something like that.
I
Said
don't
to
know because we've
me,
got Skeleton Crew right now. As far from, I don't know how many episodes that is. I think we're at episode 4. I don't know how many. I don't know if that's 6 or 8 episodes. So
Ken back. Let's see, it looks pattern. I want to say I'm like half with that. Like sometimes I do like the look of the new suit. Sometimes I don't. Like there's been some shots where it just looks like a one piece. Nah, I don't know. Like sometimes
yeah,
I
I
do
know
like.
that was a big topic when Gunn just put out the Instagram post with him putting on Superman putting on his boot, and there was a lot of questions and concerns about the costume and the way it looked.
Mhm.
Um, I- Not being such a big Superman fan over the years, that didn't matter to me. And
Yeah,
I think if I compare it to like the Spider-Man movies where we saw different versions of the Spider-Man costume, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, and now finally the last Holland movie, we kind of got the classic Spider-Man costume. So I,
I liked
I'm
all of them.
okay with it not being, as comic accurate. I didn't have any issues with any of the Spider-Man costumes that they used in any of the movies. I actually thought Garfield, I thought Garfield's suit was probably the best in the Amazing Spider-Man.
I did too. I think Raimi's was more like flashy kind of thing. Like it had all the metal on it and stuff, and I mean it was still cool to look at, and I love the design of it. Shit, Spider-Man 1, one of the posters I had was just him facing like the poster, and it was just like this part of his face. I mean, it was a cool, fresh design at that time. I can remember. Um, no, but I will agree. I mean, that's like seeing at the very last scene when Tom Holland pulls that suit out. I do prefer that version of the suit, but seeing all the other ones, and I can agree, like with the Superman, even Batman. I'm a huge Batman fan, and he's never had like a comic book accurate, as far as the
Right.
movies go. But like, I mean, do I dislike him? No, I've liked all of them, even the nipple and the butt shots. I mean, I thought, um, I mean, I was a teenager when that hit, so I mean, they worked for me at that time, and it was '90s. Um, no, but that's like you said with the Superman suit. For me, it's more along the lines of as long as it doesn't look like too cheesy or too like homemade looking. But
Right.
in Superman's regard, that's kind of half of the story behind the suit is it is homemade. Like it was, it's either his parents that made it or it's him that made it, or some versions like the ship that made it. But
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was surprised at the amount of conversation around, the costume. But like I said, I'm not the biggest, Superman fan, and have read and have seen some of the different versions over the years. So it didn't really that didn't bother me at all. So
I want the look of that Superman world that we know from the comics or animated or maybe even previous Superman movies, and this one definitely has all that there, especially when you're talking about all the cameos, like seeing Guy Gardner and Nathan Fillion with the bowl cut and him coming in and using the Green Lantern. To me that was dope. Like seeing the Hawk Girl, and we don't know what version of Hawk Girl it is, but like
right.
just seeing her in action. And yeah, we got her in Black Adam, and I liked her version of Black Adam, but this one looks more, I would say, comic book accurate. No, but that's kind of
Yeah,
like
the bowl cut haircut was funny because I saw a lot of the Dumb and Dumber
I love
Jim
that.
Carrey comparisons, which was just funny to see. But
It is, and I mean, it's a hard sell, but you're talking about like for one, an actor like wanting to portray that character, knowing he's gonna have to be wearing that wig the whole time.
right,
But I mean, I give more kudos to Nathan Fillion, but not only that, but like the Guy Gardner. I mean, you're talking about somebody that like who would have thought we'd ever get Guy Gardner in a live action movie and it not be an exclusive Lantern movie? Like you know, that's one of the things, and he's been known for it, but niche picking those like, you know, side characters that are not
right.
really well known. I'm ready for that, you know. I mean, and I think that's everybody's complaint. Like Superman's well known, Batman's well known, Wonder Woman's well known, but how many other heroes are within these universes, Marvel and Universe? You know, that's like how many people don't know Squirrel Girl, or you know, how many people don't know.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's just because they haven't been featured in an animated or a live action. You know,
Well, and I mean that was a success with Guardians of the Galaxy, right? I mean, nobody really, you know, nobody knew who Rocket Raccoon was, or Groot, and those, and look what he did with those films. I
I
mean,
remember them announcing we were getting a Guardians of the Galaxy, and me being a comic book fan and like knowing who the Guardians of the Galaxy were,
right,
I was like, why? Why is this one of the first MCU movies that we're getting? And like, I mean, after we got it, like I remember seeing the trailer, and I was fully on board. I was like, yeah, this looks great, but like, who would have thunk? Like, you know, I mean.
yeah,
And that's like Suicide Squad. Like, who would have thought like Weasel or some of the other like off-brand characters, like Polka Dot Man.
right.
I grew up loving Polka Dot Man because he was so niche and nobody knew about him. It was one of the things that I loved because to me he was a cool Batman bad guy that nobody had ever heard of. And now, I mean, he's a same name. You know, I mean,
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I think even for comic book fans, that having some of those obscure characters is a way for us to learn about them, because there are certainly characters that I didn't know about. I mean, even you think of Into the Spider Verse, where they use Spot, as the villain. Like, he wasn't a well known villain in Spider Man. Um, you know,
I knew of Spot, but I
right? You
couldn't.
know of him, but you don't know
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember. It's kind of like White Rabbit, and everybody knows White Rabbit. But like, if I ask people like what her real name was or like what her powers were, most people be like, but they know of her, like, you know. um, no, there was a lot of cool stuff in the trailer. I mean, like, it took some breakdowns for me to fully understand what they were showing. Like that one guy's face, that's Metamorpho. I didn't know if we were looking at Brainiac. I didn't know if we were looking at like, you know, some other guy, but yeah, that's supposed, because in that shot you can actually see like Metamorpho's got the gray and the blue eyes or whatever, but you can also see like on his shoulder he's got like the purple, you know, like because I forget the four elements he's made up or whatever, but I know one of them is diamond. It's like one of his legs.
yeah,
It's,
no,
but
definitely. I'm excited for it, and like I said, I'm not, from a comic standpoint, I'm not the biggest reader. I've read some Superman over the years. I actually picked up, I started reading the most recent Superman series, which was pretty good, but then I kind of trailed off of that. But yeah, no, I'm certainly excited to see the film. I mean, the special effects too look good, as far as, the CGI, the Kaiju, like everything it looked good. There was no question of, I haven't heard anybody say anything about the way it looked. I haven't seen any complaints about it. So that's always a good sign.
no Flash comments or the Ant-Man
Right.
Quantumania comments with
Right.
the
Yeah.
Modoc and the
Not yet anyway. Right. So,
yeah. No, but I'm excited, and this is something else. Like it might be like, you know, comic book related accurate, but as far as you know, I think that's something that we need to like get past of it being like super accurate to the source. For one, we already know he's pulling this story from like three different stories, so I mean, like, you know, don't get it in your head, you know, if this isn't exactly the Superman that you read, and you know, I mean, it's going to be a movie version. This is James Gunn's version
right.
of
Right.
Superman, you know. Um, because that's been like a big issue. Is like, I'm I'm going to see Madam Web, and if it's not comic book accurate of what I know, I'm not going to like the movie. I think that's something that we need to like kind of get away. Like I would love to see an exact, and sometimes we get that with Watchmen. I think that's a good example of like when it's really close to the source and it works. But as far as getting these movies and then being really close to the source, I mean, that's like MCU. They're not really pulling from like comics, some storylines, but you're talking about we got storylines from like the 60s and then they jump to
Right.
like the
It's
2000s.
kind of a mismatch of stories over the years. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, just have that in there too of this not mirroring exactly what you know from the comics, because if you have that expectation in there, this is not going to be, you know, that
Well,
version.
and you think of that like when they take a novel and they make a film, it's not always they take some liberties with the story to make it what they think would be a better film, right? So
Yeah.
um,
And
that
you're
that
talking about, I mean, the
comic,
appeal, and it's like you said, like you not being so much of a Superman fan and not having extensive knowledge on his extended storyline. I think that's some of the appeal too, is they're looking for that casual fan that doesn't know that much about Superman, and that's the expectation of especially a number one movie, right? This movie should explain who Superman is, what he stands for, what he kind of thing. And if it doesn't, that's where it fails to miss the mark. Like if I went back and watched that first Spider-Man Tom Holland movie, and yes, they skipped the origin, but during that movie, like if they didn't explain that he could crawl on walls and stuff or swing
right?
on webs, or like, I mean, it might have
Yeah, there's still got to you got to establish the character in some aspects, right? Yeah.
who cares what the whiny comic fans say? No, I think that's what they're at, where they're at right now. They're like, we tried listening to them. We can't make them happy.
Yeah, yeah. You'll never make everybody happy, right?
No. So there was some other news. There's some news that dropped this morning already off of the success of Sonic 3. They've already greenlit Sonic 4.
Oh, really?
And then they already have a promo poster and everything. They were ready to
Oh,
go.
wow.
I don't
That's
know who's seen
interesting. That was released last weekend or
this weekend.
this weekend? Okay, yeah. I didn't even see.
Technically like Thursday night, but Friday, and I think most people are waiting like Christmas. But I mean, you're talking about how stacked are the theaters right now. I mean, we got like a Lords of the Ring movie in there. We got Sonic 3. We're gonna have Nosferatu. We got we got Craven. We
Right.
got damn,
Yeah,
I'm
there's
missing some. Oh,
Wicked,
we got yeah, we got
Moana
Wicked,
2.
we got Moana 2. Okay, and this is something else. I don't know how many people know this, because I was just, this many years old and made aware of this like yesterday, but who knew that Wicked was a part one of two? Like we're getting a Wicked part one and we're getting a Wicked part two?
Yeah, I heard that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that when I first
No.
saw the trailer and stuff, I didn't realize it was,
No, and
one of
it's not even when you go look it up on Wikipedia, it's not advertised until you look at the like kind of the fine print. Like the only way you know about it is when you go see the movie. It's actually in the title. Like, and that I was really surprised to see that. I was like, I did not see any advertisement or marketing saying this was going to be a part
right.
one of two. And it ends on that cliffhanger. It
On a
ends on
cliffhanger,
like,
yeah. I haven't
yeah,
seen
like
my wife has seen the play on Broadway. She went with my daughter and my sister-in-law. But I want to go see it. So I'm hoping that we can get some time to go see it together because she she was a big fan of the play. She really enjoyed it.
don't quote me, but I think there is like 4 or 5 books. So that's when I saw the part one, that's what I thought they were talking about was like, yes, this is part one Wicked, and the next one is like part two. I forget the name of the second. I thought that's what they were doing. I didn't know they were like literally splitting the movie into 2 parts, like
Right.
Dune. I was like, what? This was not advertised at all.
No. Well, I'm sure they probably didn't want to because, that potentially could draw people away
Away
saying,
from,
"Oh, I
yeah,
don't wanna
yeah.
have to be, suckered
Because,
into 2 parts." So,
well, that is an off-putting thing, because talking about those two-parter or three-parter movies, and one that you're a fan of, but the Spider-Verse franchise,
yeah.
they're kind of in a mass limbo right now where we might not ever get part two or whatever. I've seen like, I think 6 different articles saying that it is moving forward and it's been completely scrapped. Like, so I don't know
Yeah. Yeah,
where.
it's kinda weird. Yeah.
I've seen some very like harmful like articles out there. Like I don't like talking about that like the half the crew left, and then I read another one where it's like everybody's still working on the same project. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a big disappointment if they don't come out with the second part of, Spider-Verse because it had such momentum, and the fact, when the first movie came out, just the style, the animation style, it would be disappointing if they don't finish that.
And I can get that, which I can't. Okay, so this is another confusing thing, right? Because this was some news that we got after Craven was released that Sony was like, I saw 2 different articles. I saw one that they were full blown going for the Sinister Six thing, and then like right after that, I saw an article saying that that was the last Spider-Man like slash movie that Sony was gonna do. Okay, so at that same time, that's when we got the news that they weren't going forth with the Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse 2 or whatever. So some confusing things right there. One, they have that contract. They have to do a Spider-Man-esque related movie like once every 3 years, or
Right,
they
right.
lose the licensing. So like this came up in that article, and I saw like that they were potentially maybe on the board of selling Spider-Man back
Yeah,
to
I've
Marvel
heard that too. There's been more rumblings about them potentially selling Sony selling it back, selling the rights
because
back.
under my understanding, if they don't fulfill, and it doesn't have to be a movie, that's where people are wrong. It can be a game, which they've done, consecutively, and had high success with the game as well. So, like, as far as I know, they're not doing any of the Spider-Man projects, and if they don't, they do lose the license, and it reverts back to Marvel or whatever. But I don't know where. I mean, and I can understand that they're stopping the kind of Venom, Craven, those style of movies. But like Into the Spider-Verse, both of those movies were like incredibly successful for them. Like,
Yeah.
why would you stop that? That's like the games. Both of the games were
Oh,
like
yeah. Big
game of the
sellers.
year game. Yeah, like why would you stop that? And, like there has to be something else that they're not telling us, that it's
Well,
you know
now who's producing the Nicolas Cage Spider-Man Noir? That Sony?
I think that's Prime, I think, but I assumed it was an association with Sony, like it, but that's where it gets weird because I don't know. I don't think there's ever been a concrete like what Sony actually has the license as far as like Spider-Man characters. You know,
That's
I,
true.
I've assumed that it's just like, oh, they own all of Spider-Man's characters, including like, anybody that you can think of that's popped up. But I don't know if that's the case, because I mean, if that was the case, I think we would have seen a lot of the more famous ones. Like, yeah, we got Venom, but like, I mean, we could have got Scorpion, Rhino, like we could have got all these other like major, um, I mean, we could have got a specific Green Goblin movie. You talk about how big he is within the Spider-Man universe,
Oh,
like,
yeah. Yeah.
and around this time, we're talking about they could have we could have got different like versions of this film off of the success of Joker. We could have got like a very serious Harry Osborn, like, like kind of version. I mean, so it was kind of like weird why they chose the characters they did, and I want to say that's part of the licensing. Like they only got like Like, I want to assume Spider-Man and Venom were the only two cool characters they got. Everybody else were like these, like, I mean, because they did a Madam Web movie, like, at all,
Right, right.
like, why? At all the known characters and stories, and guess what, peeps? I watched Madam Web recently, and I actually liked it. I thought it was okay. It wasn't as bad as everybody says it was. It wasn't the greatest ever, and it wasn't exactly like a Spider-Man, no, but there was actually some cool things about it. But why that movie? Like, why that script or plot or that's where I get weirded out. Like like why these people, if that's like, why do Morbius if you don't have a direction to use them after that? If you're not setting up Midnight Suns, or if you're not
Right.
going to use him as a Spider-Man bad guy, what's the point of giving us just a standalone Morbius movie? And I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
there's
There should have been some master plan, right? Yeah.
yeah. And I get there's like those Morbius mega fans out there, that have been wanting this Morbius standalone film for it. I get it, but like, yeah, I mean, is that all it is? A stand, and that's not how it was presented. It was a stand.
Yeah.
I,
Well,
I
we're
would have been
running.
game. I would have
We
been
got to wrap it up because Cliff is live, so everybody can jump over to Cliff's
heck yeah.
stream. I didn't mean to jump in on his time this morning. Mike, what do you got coming up? Are you live tonight? I know you've been doing some
I
Saturday
am.
morning.
I am. We're doing the second book in the Dragonland series, the Dragons of Winter Night. It'll be the first part of it. Us talking about the book and stuff like that. My Stephen King thing, it'll be a month before that comes back, because we're jumping back to standalone novels away from the comics.
And are you and Trev live tomorrow night?
Ooh, that I gotta go look. It's been an iffy schedule lately, so like I usually have to check that day, but I want to think that yes, we're on this weekend. I think it's no next weekend. I don't remember.
Okay. All right. Barry, good morning. He asked Saturday morning cartoons. That's kind of why I named the show going forward. It's going to be this Saturday morning comics, Saturday morning cartoons. Because I remember, I used to watch everything, but I remember Justice League, Amazing Spider-Man and His Amazing
Amazing
Friends.
Friends, yeah.
But I would watch everything. The Smurfs. I would, whatever I could watch,
Snorks.
I would watch.
Yeah, just because of that time. I mean, like, you got to remember, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. What else was on at that time? It was like either infomercials, or like if it was a Sunday, it was the Christian like marathon stuff. But like, I mean, I remember waking up at like 5 in the morning to start, like, and it was usually like you started out with like Looney Tunes, or like the
Oh,
basic
Bugs
cartoons.
Bunny.
Yeah, before you got to like the superhero stuff, because I
Right.
can remember like being there like 6 a.m. to catch like He-Man and GI Joe and no, that was probably one of the greatest times of my life, was being able to do that as a kid. And I often reflect back at these kids not having, yes, they have cartoons, but they don't have that, like, block or whatever like we did, where it was set up for kids.
And I think parents probably appreciated it, right? Because I would sit in front of the TV for like 3, 4 hours,
My
a couple bowls of
grandparents, my
cereal.
parents, my
Yeah.
aunts and uncles, it didn't,
They didn't have to
hell
worry
yeah.
about me. They knew where I was, and yeah,
It
yeah.
got to a point in our house where, like, but I remember our parents used to wake up with us, and it got to a point where they knew we were just watching cartoons. So it got to a point where we were allowed to like wake up on our own and like, turn the TV on, and it didn't bother my parents, and like we were allowed to make our own breakfast and stuff and shit. And I think my parents like slept until like 8, 9. That they were living it up.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yep. Let's see.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
all right.
So it is no show. Okay.
No
Yeah, it's
show
something
on Sunday for you guys. All
I
right.
gotta
So
go check. Usually on Sunday, it's like the first thing I do is I pull up Trev's thing and I go check.
you're right.
Uh,
Well, here's Cliff's link. Cliff is live now with Kingdom of Nerds Bruce. So definitely,
mm,
guys, go jump over there. Mike, thanks so much for jumping on this kind of impromptu stream. So I appreciate you hanging out and
yeah, thanks for having me.
talking comics and movies with me. Let's see. What are we'll leave you with something, but definitely go jump over to Cliff. Go hang out with him. I think we're gonna leave you with the dance stylings of Mr. DVH. So, but I appreciate everybody hanging out with us this morning in the chat. Mike, have a great. If I don't talk to you, Merry Christmas. Hope you.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody in the chat. Hopefully, everybody has a good Christmas and New Year. And but I'm sure we'll be hanging out and around. There's a lot of live streams going on over the next couple of days. So we'll see everybody in the chat. So.
Yeah.
From the spiral dimension.